Well, Mommy has bigger meetings probably than Daddy does, sweetheart. That's fine, though. That works out just fine. Okay, we got a few more. See, there's a few more people that are jumping on, and there'll be more scrolling that'll happen. There's Darcy, and there's Cheryl. She's joining us this afternoon. Good afternoon, Cheryl. Great to see you.
Good afternoon. Good to see you too, and your little one.
Cheryl saying hi. Oh, that was pretty well perfect in terms of timing wise.
That was very good.
Was that good, darling? Did you like that? Okay, fantastic. Then I know it's a fun song, right? We're saying it's a little bit young for Taylor, but Bonnie got it right away, and Jay knows that song as well. So good afternoon, everyone. Happy Thursday. It's 2:33. This is episode 11. I can't believe I'm saying it. Episode 11 of Top of Mind. It's been awesome, and the month of June is looking fantastic. I posted, I believe it was on Monday. I posted on Monday the lineup of talent that we've got in terms of guest speakers. So please mark your calendars for this time slot. We'll do 1 hour Thursday afternoons, 2:30 to 3 p.m. It's going to be great. Today we've got the amazing, what I'm calling the power team of the Tutka Morgado dynamic, and it's really, really cool. So husband and wife and daughter, and all real estate investors. So they're going to be sharing with us a little bit about some of their story, some of their journey, and their most recent acquisition. So we're going to be jumping into that. What is it, Charlie? There's a mummy on the call. There's a mummy on the call. Bonnie's the mummy. Jay's the daddy. Taylor is the daughter. Right there. Right, so I'm going to bring them up to speaker view at this point in time. Let's go. We'll do that one more time. One more time. Yes, sweetheart.
Can you tell them?
You're which? You're 4 years old? Yes. Well, Lila wants everyone to know that she's 4 years old. So that's an important piece of information, right? 4 years old, right? And do you have a brother or sister?
Yeah. My brother's name is William.
William. And how old is William?
He's 3.
3 years old. That's it, right?
And I have a little namer named Damien, Julia, and Aiden too.
Well, those are friends, right?
And
we can't get into all the friends list right now, sweetheart. Okay, Daddy has to have a conversation with Bonnie and Jay and Taylor. Okay, so if you want to listen, they're going to be telling us about some of the great work that they're doing. If you want to listen, you can, darling. Or if you want to play, you can go and do that too.
Listen.
Okay. Have a seat then, sweetheart. Okay. Have a seat. Daddy will get you a little closer in the chair. Okay. So thanks very much, everyone, for hanging in. Really appreciate that while we're getting everything set up right here. But you can stand on the scooter if that's most comfortable for you. Okay. So yeah, I reached out to Jay and Bonnie and Taylor to be able to come on for this afternoon. They're kicking off June. We've got a fantastic month. So please do join us. And I'm just so excited about the quality of speakers that are coming on, people that are sharing their time and what's happening from this particular kind of initiative on Thursday afternoon. So thank you everyone for the support. But we're going to jump into it with Bonnie and Jay and Taylor right now. They prepared a presentation for us. They're going to be talking to us a little bit about this great team dynamic. I'm going to have some questions as usual as we go. So I'm going to throw it over right now, guys. If you want to hit your share screen, or first off, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone before we jump into the presentation, and then you can get rolling.
Okay, I'm Bonnie, the one half of Bonnie and Jay. This is our daughter, Taylor.
Hi.
And we
have our backgrounds in our presentation, so I guess that's a nice segue into it.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'm going to share the screen. To share. And what?
Yeah, we'll just hit it. Okay.
Oh, that doesn't work.
That looks good. Can everyone see it at this point in time?
Defaulted. Yeah, that's it. Now.
With the brown hair and the orange shirt.
These are our companies.
Who's that one?
And I guess just by way of introducing ourselves, so my background is in accounting, and I have always been associated with real estate. I've always worked for property managers, large property managers or asset managers, mainly in commercial, like the Cadillac Fairviews of the world and the Trizex and things like the Eaton Center and TD Center and those kind of properties, Square One, Sherway. And I left the corporate world in about 2004 and went into my own business, still working for real estate. And then I got tired of that. And in about 2012, I think, or 2013, I decided to get my real estate license. So that was a lot of real estate background, just not necessarily as an investor at that point.
And I have nothing to do with real estate. I've been in IT for the past 30 plus years, and my connection to real estate or anything to do with the brick and mortar is through my father, who was an architect and a manager of major construction site, and he taught me a lot about building codes and how things are put together from the bottom up. Usually, building anything from top to bottom, not very suggested. So, so I leverage the knowledge that I have learned from my father, from my grandfather, who was a blacksmith, from my other grandfather, who was a carpenter. Leverage all this knowledge in sweat equity when we work on a property that we acquire, or even from the perspective of making some early assumptions on what is possible, what is not possible, and including scrutinizing some of the decisions made by the contractors. So that's what I bring to the team.
And then my background is in elevator sales. So I'm in the construction industry, but not really in the real estate world. So I deal with major projects in the GTA and high-rise commercial and residential.
So this is a really, really great and in some ways a little bit of an eclectic kind of like threesome, right? When you're bringing all these different skill sets to the table. So I am really interested, right? And I think in some ways Jay might have like undersold himself there, right? Just talking about some of the, you know, the influences that he's had and some of the disciplines that he's learned over the years. So I'm interested as we go throughout the presentation, if there's more, I don't think you pump your tires a lot there, Jay. I think you're a very modest kind of man, are you?
Well, like I said, I'm really just I just work here.
Thanks, Jack. He
So
keeps,
yeah,
he,
none of that. None of that.
he keeps the full-time job so we can get a mortgage.
Bonnie puts this sheet of paper in front of me that has a little sticker on it. Just sign here.
Well, stop.
Sorry, I think somebody had a comment.
No, we just had we had someone that just was unmuted there. So I'm just taking a look at the chat right there. If anyone does have any comments, please drop them into the chat, and I'll make sure to pose those questions and that sort of thing. But I just muted one of the individuals.
All right.
All right.
So our entry into the real estate investment world started with HGTV.
And I wasn't present.
Yeah, he likes to get out of this point. So like a lot of investors, I guess, you watch TV, you think it looks amazing.
And easy.
And easy. So we were big fans of Flip or Flop. And then my mom saw a 2-hour presentation.
I know.
And then we saw a presentation, or I guess a free presentation on Facebook advertising, and it was associated with Flip or Flop. It's called Success Path. So we went there in 2016 fall to a 2-hour presentation similar to what Keyspire does. There was they were selling a 3-day workshop. We signed up for that. It was in Kitchener. We went there in October. By the end of the first day, we were convinced. We were like, we have to do this. So we enrolled with Success Path. We went to a Boots on the Ground summit a few months after. Were teaching us more about strategies, and then we went to their summit in Vegas in February of 2017, where we met with mostly US investors, but some Canadian. And their whole structure was investing in the US and that Canadians could do so, but it wasn't really focused on investing in Canada whatsoever. So from the beginning of us getting into this real estate investing world, we had the idea of investing in the US and not in Canada. So then we set up the infrastructure in the US, set up a company called Bontori Properties, which is a combination of our names, my middle name and then Bonnie. And we began to create a team in the US. We were debating between Detroit and Buffalo, and we ended up investing in Buffalo just because of proximity. They both had cheap housing prices, so it just made more sense to go with Buffalo. It was only a 2-hour drive. So we ended up trying to set up boots on the ground there. We found a few realtors that we went through and a lawyer, and then we ended up closing on a property with one realtor there, and then our contractors we found after we had a property.
So this is just a look at one of our first flips in Lancaster, actually, which is about it's about 22 kilometers east of downtown Buffalo.
Okay.
About an hour and a half drive from our house. Kind of a sleepy little community, not as much crime as downtown Buffalo, and a very good school district. That's what we were told by the realtors, so in higher demand. And this was a 1940s style Cape Cod house with 3-bed, 1-bath. And I didn't put all of the pictures here, but you can see it was in pretty rough shape. This was actually a foreclosure property. It had been on the market for well over a year, and the utility company called me later. The utilities had been off for over 2 years. So I think they'd had some drug squatters and things like that. The neighbors were very happy when we bought it and started renovating it because it was an eyesore on their street. So
Okay.
that was just, this one had foundation issues, and you can just see how we cleaned some mold. We cleaned that all up. The numbers on this, we bought this for $45,000 US, and we sold it for 130, I think, or no, 136. 9. This was
136.9 was your sell job on that one. So just jump back for a quick second. I've got to ask just a quick.
I knew it was good. Okay.
We're testing out the functionality, right?
Yeah.
The back and forwards. So, I mean, like, great looking work, guys. Like, the work looks really fantastic. But what stood out right here for me is the quality of the images right here. Did you shoot these yourselves, or did you have someone go in and shoot these? Especially the basement. That basement pretty well looks like you could eat off that floor. It looks pristine down there.
So one of the things we always do, we found this has big appeal. It was actually the staging guy I used. We had to fix the foundation issues here, but we were never going to paint the basement and everything. We were going to clean up the mold and everything, but a staging guy that I used in the US said you should always paint a basement. It has so much impact. So that was just basically the basement painted after the work had been done.
Yeah.
But
The after pictures were from the realtor.
Yeah.
The before pictures were us.
But the work done in the basement, it included bracing the walls because we had some bulging of as you can see in the pictures, the walls in the basement were cinder block.
Mm-hmm.
So there was some water damage. All the downspouts coming off the roof were pointing directly into the foundation. So there was no relief from the rainwater, and you can see the crack just on the top right picture, the crack below the window. This is a result of the wall bulging inside. So this is before. After it's all finished, and you don't even see the steel beams that are supporting the wall and the braces that went with it. One thing that we don't have this picture here, but when we walked in there for the first time, the basement was divided into 3 separate things.
It was all different rooms.
With some form of
It was a mess.
Some form of a PDF, MDF. Sorry, there's my experience. With some form of an MDF boards. which were half rotten, eaten by mold.
Yeah.
I have never seen a colony of daddy long-leg
Oh yeah, there
spiders
was tons of them.
that were in one place. You could literally make a big hamburger out of them, just collecting them in 5 minutes. Like, it was just ridiculous. They
But you
were
just turned me off
everywhere.
hamburgers for the rest of the summer, Jay. I mean, I
And
gotta tell you.
remember,
They're very rich in protein. They're very good for you.
remember all the wiring? There was wiring hanging every which way. The electrician and the
Oh,
contractors.
yeah. This
picked up.
wasn't
You
even.
can see a bit in the
This
top.
wasn't even the wiring. This was the entire house and the backyard were wired with a collection of extension cords.
No way.
Oh yeah, that's right. A hot tub.
Off of-
Everything.
Off of one receptacle, everything was just extension cords split up into extension cords, split up into extension cords.
So Darcy's asked a question right here. He's asking, I know you said that there was some challenges with the house. It was a power sale or a foreclosure, was it?
Foreclosure in the
Yeah,
US.
foreclosure. So he's asking, in terms of the history, do you know if this was a grow up? Was it that type of home that you were purchasing? Did you know?
No, it wasn't a grow up, but we had heard from the neighbors that for a while, because it had been vacant so long, it was a foreclosure, but because it had been vacant so long, they just got some squatters, like some kids in the neighborhood that used
Sure.
to hang out there and smoke joints or whatever.
Yeah.
So eventually the city stepped in and cleared that out because they started finding syringes and stuff, and I guess enough of the community complained. And so they were gone when we took over. The challenge with this house was the fact that the bowing foundation walls and the steel I-beams that we hired one of the best, one of the most well-known foundation guys in that area, because we knew this could be a real stigma for reselling the house, because the I-beams are on the outside of the walls. You can't really hide them. And so we wanted to make sure we had a full warranty that transferred over, and everything we could do to assure the buyer this has been looked after properly. So that was the biggest challenge. Painting helped. I mean, it camouflaged the I-beams a bit because it blended them in with the wall, but it was obviously where you were there. And through all the showings, we had a binder out with all the work that had been done on the basement, the warranty, the certification. We always left it on the counter for showings.
So Bonnie, just pause on that for a second, right? So would that binder be akin to, I don't know if you caught the great episode that Darcy had with us, but he really talked about taking control of the appraisal. So it's a package, right? You're showing, instead of, you know what I mean, other comparables and that sort of thing, but you do show the work, right? So would it be similar to that sort of thing?
We didn't show the work for the whole property. Again, it was just because people walk in and they go, oh my God, foundation, that's megabucks, you know, out of here. And a matter of fact, the first time Taylor and I viewed this property, we said, forget it. This is way over our, you know, we just don't want to go here. But we actually ended up finding actually a building inspector in Lancaster who on the side would walk through a house with you, just on the side to give you an idea. And when we took him in, he said, we were assuming this was a whole dig around the entire perimeter of the property to rebuild the walls and stuff. And he was the one who said to us, I don't think this is that situation. And that's what kind of brought us back.
Yeah, so a lot of investors found out after the fact had actually walked through the property and discounted it. One of the biggest flippers in the Buffalo area had actually been in this property as well, Chris Noggle. I don't know if anybody knows of him. But yeah, so we took on a foundation problem as our very first flip. So
Might as well go big or go home, right?
right, why not?
No sense in just redoing the kitchen and doing a little bit of paint and lighting, right?
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
If
Okay.
you're going to learn, right? This was our next one, which coincidentally, not on purpose, ended up being actually 2 blocks over from our last one, again in Lancaster. This one was an estate sale. So a lady had been living, I guess a lady had been living here and she passed, and the house went to her kids, and her kids lived in totally different states, both of them. They didn't even live in the same state with each other. So they just wanted to get rid of it. And Taylor and I had been obviously actively searching for our next property. And in the course of going back and forth with our realtor, I just happened to be on MLS the day this posted. On realtor.com, not MLS there. And I saw it come up. So we started running the numbers for this one, and it looked pretty good, and I didn't want to lose it. So it was for 85, it was up for 85,000. And you can see it was a pretty big eyesore from the outside. It had been really neglected for years. The lady was a widow, and I guess you could tell all her husbands, the basement on this, Jay went nuts when he saw the basement on this, because all the husband's tools and gadgets and everything, and he passed way before her. Oh, there was a piano.
Yeah.
He was having a heyday down there. I was just gonna hire that place, the junk place that just comes.
Yeah, you wanted to just
Get it
people
empty?
come in, got it, and take it out. But
He's
there
like,
was
I
a lot
want
of
to go through it.
there was a lot of items, and we didn't take advantage of that just because of time and the whole issue crossing the border back and forth with what could be considered historical items. So it was just but packaging material from the beginning of the 20th century or from the 1800s, all old grain canvas bags and Coca-Cola and Pepsi crates from the early years. A few tools that what was smaller it could fit in my pocket we took across the border. There's just a couple tools that we did. And
an awesome Polish eagle door knocker.
Oh, that's awesome. I wish I could show you. It's in
I should have taken a picture of that.
So that was pretty cool. I spent a lot of time there with the spiders going over everything because this basement wasn't much different.
And the contractor was trying to get in there to get it.
And that was something else. The contractor was just literally taking stuff out from the basement and laying it all beside his truck, saying, "I'm taking that."
Oh wow!
He looked at me and he goes,
I
"Who
don't think
owns
so.
this house?"
Yeah, I'm sure he thought he had hit like the candy shop, right, with the memorabilia and the collectible items. Pause for just 1 second. Let's go back to the previous house. We don't have to jump back on the slide. Just a question right here. Linda Chalmers is asked right here. She's saying, "What a difference." And she's just asking what the total cost was on that reno. So we know that you purchased that at $45 US. You were able to sell it at $136,900. What was your ballpark on your reno budget there?
Okay, so our reno budget here was reno budget, holding, closing, and everything was $66,000.
66. Wow.
This was not US, so this was not actually a success story at the end of the day.
No.
This is sort of why we kind of came back. Part of the reason we started coming back to or started stopping in the US. You have a really tough time with trades there and contractors. And the contractor that we hired checked references, everything. I called 3 or 4 references, right? It was recommended by our realtor from a previous client he'd had. He basically just took us to the cleaners. I was, I'd listened to class. I was smart enough not to. He wanted originally 50% of it up front. He was going to buy the material and everything. The only thing I was doing separately was the foundation work and the roof. I think you can see we did the roof here. Yeah.
Yeah, I picked up on that. It looks really good, Ashley.
Yeah. So he was handling the rest, buying material and everything. But I said to him, "Look, I'm not giving you 50% up front. I will fund you as you order things." So of course he'd say, "Okay, I'm going to order all the doors and the trim and everything, and I need this much money," and I'd advance him that much money. And then he got the drawings done for the kitchen, and it was like, "Okay, I'm going to order this," and I'd advance him that money.
Sure.
And then I'd give him labor. So I would end up going to the property and nobody would be there and no work would be done. So then I'd call him and he'd say, "Oh, we just got delayed on another job. We're fixing it up. We're starting this afternoon." So a couple of days later I'd come. Same thing, nobody around. And this went on for weeks. Then finally, after a couple of weeks, he had a bin in our driveway from the first day of the contract, but I'd look in it and nothing would be in it. So it's just empty. So finally he he started to get going, but he only put, one or two guys only showed up at first. It was just going at a snail's pace. And so finally started ordering stuff. I advanced him the money. I was getting really ticked off. We started having actual arguments. Like he was a real yeller, and he would just freak out. He was under a lot of pressure, I guess. We found out later. Long story short, we found out it came to the due date. It was supposed to be done, I think, in September, and it wasn't anywhere near done. And then he came to me one day and he said, I said, why isn't the kitchen delivered? You told me it would be here a long time ago. And he said, well, I need the money to get the stuff released. It's COD. And I said, what do you mean? I gave you the money when you ordered it. And it just went from bad to worse. We ended up having to hire a lawyer in the US, get a cease and desist order. We locked him out, gained us a shot back, I guess. That was our one little mission. Found out the guy had just been setting up new companies. He actually had a real reputation. I didn't go after him legally because when my lawyer did a search, there was 80 people before me all after him. So we kind of had to cut our losses. So we basically ended up spending our entire profit. We had to find a new contractor. What they had done was really shoddy. Apparently the walls weren't level when we went to install the kitchen, and nothing was right.
Oh, jeez.
So we ended up paying way more for the contractor, hired another contractor, and basically we just broke even barely. Like we spent our entire profit getting this, because once you start, you can't stop. Right? You have to complete it. So we found a new contractor, and ended up turning out okay, but and I guess it could have been worse. We could have been in the hole, but we actually just ended up breaking even on this one.
And there was a lot of sweat equity that Bonnie and I put, and Taylor was helping with the house. We put in, we did our own landscaping in front of that house, right? And that was an adventure and a half, because we ended up renting a truck going to, it was October, but the time we're doing this. Oh, it was early November.
It was early November. That's why it looks it doesn't look great, but the only thing available in the stores was grass.
It was grass. And we literally did this in one day in a pouring rain.
Pouring rain, freezing cold.
Freezing cold, pouring rain, covered in mud, all from
laying landscaper. We rented rented a truck. We actually rented a pickup truck, and we just literally went to Home Depot and we bought, I don't know how many bags of
soil and chips,
those wood chips, and landscaper cloth, and we literally spent the entire day outside in the freezing cold rain, because it was approaching, I think we listed it the weekend before Thanksgiving.
The US Thanksgiving.
Okay.
It was really bad timing. There was just a lot of things working against us on this.
But to answer your question, we ended up, the profit we were going for was $19,000, so it cost us $19,000 extra to get it done.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So first one, a tremendous amount of learning, right? We didn't lose our shirts, but at the same time, it didn't go exactly the way that you'd hoped from the outset, right? It wasn't the fairy tale story of, we, bought it for 45 and put it in, and then we got a big payout at the end. But at the same time, now you're into the marketplace. So you kind of paid your dues, so to speak. Yeah. Okay, cool, guys. So just keeping an eye on the time. We're at 3 o'clock right now. So let's talk about the next one, because you had some really cool color palettes. So let's just jump into the next one a little bit. And are we going to talk about any of your newest ones?
Yeah, we were going to.
Yeah, we're going to. So I'll just go through quickly this one. The big challenge was the cement floor. You can't see it under the carpeting here, but it was all broken up in the 3-season room.
Yep.
The other challenge with this property is it was a 1.5 bath, but the full bath was the ensuite. There was a really huge ensuite with a full tub and shower. The bathroom in the hall only had it was like a powder room, right? Single toilet.
Okay.
Luckily, it had a large linen closet in it. So this picture of the shower is, we turned the linen closet into a shower in order to make it 2 full baths. So that's what that's about. Do you want to run it? And the other challenge here was obviously the front of the house, which was yuck.
The front of the house was really bad. All the concrete there was no pathways, all the concrete was broken up. Roof was in a terrible state, as we learned later. It wasn't bad looking when you just looked at it. The inspector even said, yeah, that's fine. It's been done in the last 10 years. It'll last you another 10, no problem. However, when it started raining, we started seeing leaks in the room. And it was a bit of a hassle there to fix that. But we end up fixing it. The house is dry.
Okay,
It looks beautiful, and there's been some really nice comments right here. Darcy is saying, great job on the curb appeal. It does. The house looks really nice. It's fresh, it's clean, it's transformed, it looks up to date. It's a really nice job.
Thank you.
So just quickly, the numbers on these ones were, we bought it for 85. I think we budgeted reno and everything at 58. We came in at 63. And we sold it for 162. So it was basically 14,000 over 7 months. So an annualized ROI of 16%.
Very nice. Very nice. I like those numbers.
And this was a ranch style bungalow, so it was pretty nice.
And then we came back home.
Yeah.
This is me too.
Yeah.
How come I'm talking so much?
Because you're the boss.
So then in 2019, we actually, that property, the last one I just showed you, actually closed January 31, 2019. So a couple of months later, Jay and I ended up going to the 3-day workshop, which I have to tell this story because after the issue with did we even mention we joined an education system in the US?
Yeah,
I think
you
we did.
mentioned.
Anyways, we spent a lot of money on that, as you can imagine, and it didn't have a lot of the promises didn't pan out for us as Canadian, only because we were in Canada. But anyways, so of course, when I said to Jay, mentioned Keyspire to Jay, he was like, oh no, here we go, Jeff. And so I literally begged him to come to this 3-day workshop with me, okay? Like promising it can be my birthday present, it can be everything. I was trying everything. This guy, after 1 day in Alfonso Quadra's hands, total 180. By the end of day 1, he was a believer. He had seen the light.
Guilty.
But it is amazing, right? Once you align with the right people out there, it all starts to click as to where you're going, right? So when you find out it's not just getting up on stage and a bunch of rah, 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 right? When it's the individuals that truly know what they're doing and they can give you the right path and they can give you the right tools, all of a sudden, like why wouldn't you be in at that point in time? It's what you've been looking for. It's what you've been seeking. Now you've got the actual tactical information versus the, hey, we'll make you $1 million, in a few months kind of thing. So I get it. I mean, same thing for us too.
Yep. So we went on to the summit. Someone talking?
No.
Okay. We went on to the summit. At the summit, we met fellow Keyspire members. We met a lot of people, but on the very last day, this couple that had actually contacted us on the first day, we hadn't had time to meet with them. We actually sat down with them, I think, for like literally 20 or 30 minutes on the Sunday morning before it started. And they presented us with this property, which was a duplex in Souk. They were looking for a money partner. And I don't know, it just clicked. I think you know them, Ray, Chris and Sari.
Yes.
They brought this to us. It had good cash flow. The numbers looked good. Chris had a really good presentation. A lot of people had approached us with just verbally, no papers at all. And the numbers looked good at this. It was $587,000. I think our all-in investment after closing and everything was $129,000. The annual cash flow was $13,000, so a 6% cash on cash return. Annual ROI was 40%. They were projecting, and we went in on this property, and it's generating $700 a month for us. So it was a good deal.
And I love the fact that you're actually featuring this right now, Bonnie, because we had Chris and Sari on episode 7, something like that. Yeah, great for you to join us, babe.
Yes.
Sorry, just had to leave a meeting upstairs. But
It's the pop-in. It's the pop-in Thursday afternoon here. But yeah, we had them on.
Lila, how you've grown.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Surprise.
And they tell the same story, right? How, you know, they went into that summit weekend, right? And it was the Sunday morning where they finally sat down with this amazing couple, and here it was, and it all clicked
that's
for them.
nice.
So it's great to hear you tell it from your perspective, which is you went into the summit and, you know, you found the opportunity on the Sunday morning. So, and yeah, amazing working partners to work with. Their properties are fantastic. Their cash flows are super solid. Their processes are super strong. I mean, if you've watched, I'm a fan of them. I really love what they're doing, and I love the fact that now they're doing all of their prefab builds that are going on.
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah, amazing.
I'm
team.
loving that vacation property she's posting.
Yeah, looks good.
Pretty nice.
It's so succulent.
The trick with this one, succulent. The trick with this one was when they approached us on this Sunday morning, and we were all gung ho, and then they said it's closing in 20 days.
Ooh.
So we literally had to get on touch with them, and we didn't have a mortgage broker at this time. I mean, we were just getting our ducks in a row and doing stuff like, we were actually thinking just pro funds and gray book to start, and it was kind of funny. So it all happened super fast, but we were able to do it. It worked out.
It's an awesome relationship with a couple
We've
awesome
never
people,
seen it.
and we have a property. We all making money on this, and it's great.
Yeah.
Amazing. Good for you
Yeah,
guys.
so the rest of the year we looked at other properties. We had some under contract, didn't work out. We did some pro funds deals, we did Graybrook, and I started private lending, which was something I never thought in a million years I would do.
Yeah, so then getting into the family investing dynamic,
Which is what
Yeah.
so I was kind of out of the whole Keyspire decision-making situation. I was really not feeling too real estate enthusiastic after our Buffalo experience. So I decided to go into focusing on my full-time job. When I saw them start to do all these deals, I got a little jealous, and then I got the bug again. And so I started attending, I guess, fall of last year, a lot of real estate investing meetups, networking a lot, and really dove back in full force. So in early this year, I guess over Christmas break, I was determined to try and figure out a way to get in. So we sat down and started exploring the options of investing together. And so we started looking for properties, and kind of the structure of our investing together is looking for properties. It's my mom and I that really go in and every day look on realtor.ca, look on the MLS, for properties, run the numbers constantly until we find numbers that work. Showings, if all of our schedules allow for it, we try to all three of us together to look at properties, although it's hard with our jobs full time unless we can get showings on the weekends. And then in terms of if we make an offer between that point in time and the deal closing, it's really on my mom to deal with the lawyers, the realtor, do all the due diligence process. So that's really, you take the lead on that. We help if we can, or if you ask us to do something, but it's really all her. And then sweat equity is split between all of us. So if there's any work to do on the properties, you'll see on the Aurelia properties, we did have to do a little bit of work. So we try and split up that aspect. Same within the Buffalo flips, sweat equity.
Taylor, based upon these images you've got right here, it looks like the sweat equity is not shared a third. It looks like there might be maybe like
you might be getting the
it looks like
shady jobs.
You're putting
I
in.
think she rigged the picture.
Yeah, it looks like a 60-20-20 split going on right here.
So, you mentioned earlier pumping the tires. There's somebody with a big pump.
No, I'm not. I just happen to be in the attic.
She strategically picked that picture.
Yeah, no.
She's smart.
Okay, so right now, just image-wise right here. So Jay, you're changing out, it looks like all the wall switches, which is a fantastic update to do to any property. It's inexpensive, but it really does help to update the look of the rooms. So you're changing out all of those. Bonnie, it looks like you're working on something outside, pretty light duty, whatever that might be.
Hey, I am feeding the insulation into the machine so that
you're feeding
they
the
can
insulation.
blow insulation in the attic.
Okay, and then Taylor, you're up in there and you're doing what?
blowing in?
So this was a
You're blowing it.
blowing insulation. If you saw the after, you wouldn't want it. But no, we both were doing the insulation in the attic. This was the day before actually prepping and putting the baffles in place. So yeah, we did some of that. And then there was other work around the property, which we'll get into afterwards. But yeah, so sweat equity split between us. And then property management and dealing with the property manager, because in this case on the Aurelia properties we do have a property manager, and like all the bookkeeping and that kind of stuff is all on Mom.
So in terms of like your background and your experience in insulation here, Taylor, like,
Yeah.
you know, you work corporately,
Yeah, so I had a
right?
solid hour experience.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. So again,
Steep
right,
learning curve.
yeah, talking
Yeah.
about the
Trainer.
dynamic here, right? So, you know, Bonnie handles a lot of the closing, right? There's a lot of the closing work that Bonnie's involved in at that point in time, and then the property is acquired, and you guys work as a family unit and a team together. Is Jay the educator? Like, does Jay give you that 1 hour of download on how to here? I'm just curious on how the learning is done then, guys.
Any DIY stuff,
Leader.
he's the man.
Okay.
Yeah, you look up on YouTube if you don't know yourself, you watch videos, you read about it, and then he teaches us, because we don't have the patience to look into that kind of stuff, or we're busy doing
My
So
initial
just tell
thing
us
was,
what to do.
yeah. My initial thing was, let's hire somebody to do the insulation in the attic of the one property, and he was like, no, we can do it.
Yeah.
So we did it.
Good
Well,
for
I-
you.
I-
That's great.
I had some of the experience with our own house because we did
Oh, yeah.
this 2-3 years ago. Insulated our own attic. So I had some preview in doing that. So this was really not that difficult. It's really a simple strategy to help with a lot of savings. If anybody is out there that is thinking insulating an attic, it's a tragic job to do. It can be if you do this in the temperatures of excess of degrees in the middle of the summer. Then yes, you will suffer some tremendous discomfort. But if you plan this properly, you do this in temperatures, you know, around 10 degrees outside, it still will be a little bit hot in the attic, but it's nowhere near something that you can manage. It's simple. It's anybody can do it. Literally, anybody can do it.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
then getting closer to the Aurelia properties, narrowing in on Aurelia. So we had been looking, once we decided to go in on a deal together, we'd been looking really anywhere in Ontario within 3 hours of the GTA, London, Hamilton, Brantford, wherever. And then we attended a RAIN meeting in January, and Aurelia was on that top 10 list of places to invest in Ontario. And we were looking at properties in Aurelia if they came up on our searches daily, but we didn't really narrow in on Aurelia. So after that RAIN meeting, we decided, okay, let's be more serious about looking at Aurelia. We started running numbers on multiple properties. We went to visit some properties. Ray, we went to one with you.
Bumped into Ray.
Yeah, no, so we started looking at some properties, and then these two properties that we actually closed on, we had been seen for months on realtor.ca. They'd been sitting, they were actually under contract at some point, and then we just decided to run the numbers on them, and they worked. So we went to see them.
Nice.
So these
I love that pick.
This was closing day, right? Possession day?
Yeah.
Or the day after. So this was, we found these, as Taylor said, on MLS. This was a multiple offer situation. Because we actually viewed the property, Taylor and I only, for the first time on the day the offers were being presented. We were actually on our driving there for the appointments, and the listing agent called me and said there's 3 or 4 offers registered, and they're all bundle deals.
Wow.
For both properties, because they were listed separately, but they were owned by the same owner, and it was an estate sale. So we said, well, can we just get there? He said, the owner will be there to let you in. So we chatted up the owner when we got there. He liked the fact that we were mother and daughter. He was due to go have the offers presented right after our appointment to him. And we said, gosh, too bad, you know, we're really interested, but I guess we don't have a chance. You're going to get offers right now. So he said, well, why don't you call Kevin, who was the listing agent, and see if maybe we can delay it a while if you want to put an offer in. So they gave us till, I think, 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah, 5 o'clock. It was a Sunday.
Yeah, it was a Sunday. We went to a Tim Hortons, and boy, we got that offer in so fast. So we knew it was multiple offer already. We knew they were 100-year-old buildings, so there was no way we were going in without an inspection clause. I mean, Jay hadn't even seen them at this point. So we decided that we were going to go in at full ask and worry about price negotiation later, but keep our inspection condition and see what happened.
Okay.
Another Alfonso strategy.
Yes. Yeah. Tie up the property, right? And then go ahead and find out what's wrong with it. And if you need to go back and negotiate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
So don't pay too much attention to what the individual purchase prices were, because it was kind of an after the fact how we split them. Everything was done on a bundle. All our numbers were done on a bundle. So the column on the far right.
Okay.
So this is basically how the numbers lined up. This is for you, Ray. I knew you were going to ask me all these questions. So this is how the numbers lined up based on only the information available on the listing.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so it was pretty good, right? And this was at full price. So based on what they were advertising as the rent and the expenses, and we did some assumptions. The regular one, 80% loan to value, 3%, 30-year mortgage, came down. Cash on cash return was pretty good, 5.66, and you know, low end using a 3% appreciation rate. The realtor was using 5, if you remember, Ray and Aurelia, but I always like to see what the downside is.
Yeah, totally.
So I
agree.
always run a 3% too. So I'm thinking 26 to 34%. I can live with that. No problem.
Well, I mean, thank you for putting up the numbers like you have right here, because it's great, right? To be able to show it. So a couple of questions here for you as we kind of look at your numbers, right? So when you're looking at the fourplex and you're looking at the triplex, I understand the 8% loan to value. When you wanted to be able to package them all together, did you look at doing commercial instead of residential and consider putting in a higher loan to value?
We left it to Christopher Darwich
Okay.
to decide that for us.
Gotcha. So he came back with the best recommendation.
Well, his first issue was you have to be careful when you have properties that share a property line. So this was something we learned, because if you hold them, sometimes if you hold them in the same title, the city merges them. If it's the same owner of 2 properties that share a property line.
Yes.
So we went through most of the process not knowing, because only Kyle could tell us this at the end. And you're Kyle,
Our lawyer.
Yeah, our lawyer. And he doesn't get into this stuff until you're kind of firm, right? He doesn't start looking. So Christopher actually ended up coming out. I'll show you on the next slide. Actually, I can move on to the next slide now. This was, so this was what we went in on.
Mm-hmm.
This slide is due diligence. So I just wanted to give you an idea how the numbers can change. So by this time, you'll see that we've gone up to, we ended up going with a B lender. Mm-hmm. The rate went up to 3.99%, but we got a 35-year amortization.
Great.
And 35-year amortization is good because it means that you can write off more of your mortgage payment because the interest is higher, right? So more of that gets to be written off, which appealed to me. Also, he was able to get, I don't know if maybe the A lender was looking for 25% down or something, but he went there to get me the 80% loan to value too.
Nice.
So
very nice.
That worked out okay. Downside to a B lender is you have a lender fee. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But still, so due diligence, we had worked into, I had arranged to get 12 months of expenses, invoices monthly. And I went through every single one, every utility bill for every meter. I went everything. The expenses came out quite a bit different than what they had in the original ad. We got the contracts for snow and landscaping. Also upping this number is the fact that we put in a management fee reserve. At this point, we still thought we were going to be managing them ourselves. We thought we might, but we had a 10% reserve in here, 5% R&M, the usual stuff. went down here, and you can see that the numbers changed quite a bit. So
Mhm.
now we were down to basically a oh, sorry. And the other thing we've done is we had an inspection. So right here, we were guessing. We now knew we had to do some work. In the previous example, I just had a general provision of 10,000.
Sure.
Now we knew we had to do some work. So this was kind of our estimate of what the work was. Came down to nothing here. And that was a problem for us. So, and the bottom line here was 16.8, which is, you know, still better than I'm getting on my mutual funds, but hey, I wanted some cash on cash. So we went back to Taylor and I, the three of us, actually, we had a long discussion, talked to our coach, and we went back and we said, you know what, we'll take it, but we want a price drop of, we asked for 68,000. We wanted it to be 810 for this 2 property. And we did that right on the 2-week mark. So that was the date that our due diligence was supposed to be up. They said no, not surprised that they did. We said, thanks very much for your time. We know you're trying to sell them. We won't tie them up. We had the release done like literally in 30 minutes that morning, and they were able to put them back on the market, because I believe you have to be respectful of people that way. So that was fine, and we moved on. We went about our daily business
Started
and
looking for
started
other
looking
properties.
for other properties. A week later, got a call from the seller's agent, and he said, listen, apparently they had some family meeting. I don't know. It was the son who was the executor, so I don't know who all was inheriting this deal. But they said, the seller will agree to reduce the price by 58,000 if you come back to the table. So they said, are you interested? And I said, hell yes, at 117,000 a unit, I'm interested.
Yeah.
So we reran the numbers, and this is final numbers. So this is actually actual expenses, my actual legal, that we now know what those repairs are coming in at, and you can see that they are higher.
Yes.
32,000. Here, this column at the end, I just, from the first thing that we made our decision on to put in an offer to where we landed, so I just was highlighting the differences here. This was lender fee. This was obviously offset by some things, reduced land transfer tax. Our legal came in a little higher. But still, we decided to go for, we're not unhappy. We're glad we did it. We're in the market. It's the main drag. It's a 10-minute walk to the beach, and we can live with this. We think there's room to grow. We were able to do some savings in the operating expenses. There's definitely future income potential on these properties. Okay. And
it's part of the next slide.
Being prompted along, I can hear the prompt right there. And I'm just going to add in that you're being conservative at your 3% year over year, right? So I think, you know, you're showing a 19.4% for, you know, a year one ROI. I think you're definitely on the conservative side there, and you're probably going to see at the end of the year your numbers come in a little bit stronger.
Of course, we don't know how COVID's gonna pan out here, but yeah.
It is true. It is true, right? The big question. Let's jump to the next one here, guys.
So our plan for the property. So we bought these as long-term holds. There was minor repairs needed up front. Yep, there was minor repairs needed up front, like oil tank removals, cast iron pipes being replaced, insulation, that kind of stuff. So we did whatever was required and what we thought was right up front. But in terms of cosmetic changes, we're not really doing anything with that until later on. Our goal would be to hopefully refinance the properties once there's enough money to do so in appreciation. And then there is a lot of room to be able to do some major repairs and change the floor plans, actually. Layout changes on the building to the left. The top floor right now is a bachelor and a 1-bedroom, and the bachelor has the bathroom across the hall. It's not actually in the unit. So we feel that we can really make 2 nice 1-bedroom units up there and increase the rent significantly, but that'll take a lot of money to do floor plans, get architects and engineers involved. So that's the future. But for now, we're just planning on holding them. They cash flow as is. So
That's great, guys.
Amazing.
And that's
Congrats.
total. That's 7 doors in that deal.
One deal, yeah.
That is fantastic.
Love it.
Congratulations on that one. That is wonderful. And I see we've got some future goals here. So talk to us.
Yeah.
And I know, right? No one's sure what's happening with COVID, but it's not slowing you guys down. So tell us what's happening for you next.
Well, in fairness, this was kind of started
right before.
pre-shutdown.
Yeah.
We just plowed through it.
So do you want to go first? Or?
Yeah, I mean, we have different goals, but similar goals, and we're always looking to go in or together or not. So mine would be, I guess, to acquire another multifamily property. I wanted to do that this year, but I don't know, it might go into the beginning of next year. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully a fourplex in Hamilton area is where I'm thinking, but I'm really open to anywhere that the deal would work, and whether you guys want to go in on it or not, we'll figure that out later.
Nudge, nudge.
And then I want to get back into flipping houses. We both do. We miss the design aspect. It's fun when it goes well. And private lending, I have dabbled in it a little bit. I want to get more involved in private lending, and then I'm working towards my lifestyle freedom day. I want to retire from my full-time job eventually.
I think that's fantastic, and I love where your direction is, Taylor, in terms of understanding what you'd like to be able to get into. You know, looking at that multifamily. I was actually scanning some ones today, so I might have a few to share with you there.
That would be great.
But yeah, it is a really cool space. But I love the fact that you guys you've done quite a bit in terms of different kinds of properties, different strategies. But you found that area that really appeals to you, which is the flipping, right? You like going in, you like doing the renovations, getting them really pretty, doing the design, getting them all ready to go, right? So overall, is that where, I mean, yes, you've got some passive ones right here, but in terms of your active strategy, it's going to be on the flipping side is where you guys see yourselves going.
I would like to do that eventually if I were able to retire from my full-time job, because it does take a lot more time from if you're managing the properties, like in the renovations yourself. You were really involved in managing.
It was every day. Yeah. I was full-time at it.
So with my full-time job, it's difficult to do that. If I were able to retire from my full-time job, then that's what I'd want to replace my time with.
So good question from Darcy right here, which he's saying, what are your lifestyle freedom goals? Is it a certain amount of cash flow? Is it a certain amount of capital? You don't have to give us a hard number, but just speak to, what you're looking for there.
Yeah, so I'm in right now, so I'm really looking to be able to replace the income that I'm making from that right now, as well as I want to exhaust my borrowing power before I leave my job. So as many properties as I can finance or have a mortgage under myself, then I will do that until they tell me I can't anymore. And then what's the point of having the job if it's not getting me more borrowing power? So
yeah, fantastic. Do you know your number? Do you know, have they given you a number in terms of how many more properties you might be able to
I
hold?
don't actually know. I was thinking about reaching out to our mortgage broker, because we've closed on these 2 properties now, and see what I can get, but I don't know the number right now.
Very cool. Very cool. Right on, guys. So let's do this at this point in time. We're just at an hour right now. So is there more in terms of the slides that you wanted to show us today?
Oh.
No? Okay, so let's do the stop share at this point in time, and then we should have everyone come back up as kind of the grid. And, oh yeah, hold on, we'll pause on this one. So this one's really, really good right here. So, anyone that's looking to work with Bonnie and Jay or Taylor, right, here's their information. You can reach out, drop them an email. You can find them on Facebook right here. But, you can see a really, really cool family that is, moved into the real estate investing world, has done some successful projects, continues to pick up really successful projects, and it's going to continue to go that way. So if you have questions, please reach out. They're super awesome folks, no doubt about that. But let's stop the share now, and we can just have a little bit of an open, if anyone has questions, any comments, anything like that. If you do have any questions or comments, you guys can just unmute yourselves. We'll take a couple minutes for some Q&A.
Excellent.
Yes, no. We've got one from Simon right here. So Simon is asking, are these properties in your company names?
They're in the Aurelia properties are in BJST Investments.
Okay.
The other properties in the US were through Bontori Properties, because you have to have the proper infrastructure there to avoid double taxation, right?
Yes, yeah. We had Mike and Wendy, Mike Morose and Wendy Russell. They went through a lot of those details about setting up in the US and all the structuring you need there. So yeah, quite a bit. Excellent.
That's a US company. Bontori Properties is a New York LP, and we also have a Florida corp.
Gotcha. And now, do you need to keep those active for a certain amount of time, right? Or once they're set up, or are they just, you're able to just keep them going?
Well, so far I've just, like 2019, we really didn't do much. We closed on that sale in January, and then, you know, we have a storage unit over there, and just your basic corporation fees and stuff. We file tax returns every year on those. We paid to have that infrastructure set up, so we want to keep it. You know, never say never, right?
You never know,
It's pretty
especially
robust.
in days like today, right? Your situations like today, there's no doubt about it. I do want to be respectful of everyone's time, as well as I'm learning how to upload these to YouTube, and it's really interesting. They give you a certain amount of time to be able to do, so I think I figured that out. Darcy was a big help, so thanks, Darcy. Any other questions right now? We'll look to wrap it up, folks. Going once, going twice. Okay, so before we sign off then, I want to thank Bonnie, Jay, and Taylor for coming on this afternoon, for sharing some of your experience, your background in terms of where you started, how you progressed. And, you know, you talked a lot about different things today, but, you know, when you said about the Alfonso, that one weekend of training, right, how it all really clicked in. I know, Jay, we've had conversations around, you can sit and learn and learn and learn, but at a certain point in time, the rubber has to hit the road, right, as a real estate investor. So I think there's a great balance out there, and I think everyone kind of finds their own particular style and what they're comfortable with. But I do want to thank you guys for coming on. You've been guests before. It's great to have you back on and really talking about the dynamic, which is totally interesting to me. And I think that it's great showing that, you know, not it's just husband and wives out there, it's families that are working together to be able to really, you know, advance their real estate portfolios and their holdings, and to see that the work that they're doing is super cool. Looking forward to next week. We're going to have Donna Cook. She's on with us right now. So if you know Donna, you know about her amazing strategies in rent to own. If you don't, then join us next Thursday. 2:30 is the timeline. Donna is going to be coming on. She's going to be talking to us about her marketplace. She's based in Winnipeg market. She's going to be sharing with us her rent to own strategies and why that works so well in her particular market, and kind of how she set up this business, which is not easy. The rent to own strategy, it's got a lot of factors, a lot of moving parts, but Donna makes it look easy. So join us next Thursday. 2:30 is the time. And then after that, I posted, we got some great guests coming up for the back end of the month. But for me, everyone, I want to wish you a great afternoon. I hope you're having a great day. Have a wonderful weekend. Keep up the great work in terms of all of our real estate investing. Make sure to reach out when you have challenges. Let's use the community as best as we can. And in the meantime, thanks for the support, everyone.
Thanks, Ray.
Thanks, Ray.
Thanks for having us.
All right, guys, have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye.